Yeah, so just a heads up, for the videos, I'm going to also include pictures of some of the cards and some of the sets, so please watch the whole thing. All right, so it is time. So I'm gonna basically do a short and comprehensive video on collecting and investing in UFC memorabilia and cards, but mostly cards. So basically, the first thing you want to do is understand who are the most popular fighters. A lot of times I normally just go by Instagram followers. So the biggest one is Conor McGregor, which and he has about 40 million Instagram followers, and he is the most popular fighter in really all of fighting sports. Khabib Nurmagomedov is number two, 28.5 million. Ronda Rousey has 13.5 million. She's known not only as a UFC fighter, but she's also known as a WWE wrestler. This is Ronda Rousey's first year of Topps Finest card with the auto. I will be careful buying any Ronda Rousey anything because she is known for being knocked out by Amanda Nunes and Holly Holmes, which isn't good. John Bones Jones is 5.8 million. Nate Diaz, 5 million. Israel Adesanya, 4.8. And this is a picture of Israel Adesanya of at least his first year's Panini Prism card. Anderson Silva, 3.77. You also have George St. Pierre, 3.34 million. Daniel Cormier is 2.92. You also have Dustin Poirier, 2.91. Francis Ganu is 2.86 million followers. You also have a few other people. The other thing is you want to know who are the best in the sport. So one way to look at it is look at the current champions. So Francis Ngannou is the heavyweight champions at 265, brand new. And then you have Jan Blachowicz is a new champion as well, light heavyweight. And then you have Israel Adesanya, who is the defending middleweight champion at 185. Kamaru Usman is at 170. And you also have Charles Oliveira. I really wouldn't go under guys under that weight. The only exception was Conor McGregor, who fought at 145 and won the championship. Yeah, people just don't care about the little guys as much. And then you have the women, Amanda Nunes, who has 2 championships, and she's dominating the division. And then also you have Rose, they call it Thug Rose. And then you have Valentina Shivchenko. But those two don't really compare to Amanda Nunes. If you're going to invest in any women, Amanda Nunes is the one. Also recognize that most of the champions are not American. This is very important, especially if you're going to do any kind of long-term holding. People from other countries may want these cards as well, so keep that in mind. People also ask, like, who are the GOATs of UFC? It's kind of hard to say. Really, it's like George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, John Jones. Now, other names are coming in, such as some people say Conor McGregor, but I don't agree. He's probably in the top 20, but not in the top 10. And then you also are going to have new guys like Kamaru Usman that's starting to enter the conversation. And Francis Ngannou could probably enter the conversation as well. And I think Stipe as well. So next, you need to know what major sets, what are the major sets and what are the sets that you should be going after. So the first ever set that ever came out was 2008 Donruss set. Is not really talked about, it's not well known, it's very hard to find, and if you do find it, person's not gonna give it up probably unless you pay them $10,000. The other 2 sets would be 2009 Topps UFC round 1 and round 2. Round 1 is normally has more autos, and then round 2 probably has more base cards. So I have a couple cards. So one of people consider the GOAT. This is the base card of George St. Pierre, and this is round 1 card. I don't know what's his round 2. Actually, I have a few, but they're off in grading. And then I have John Jones's round 2 card. So I have them in bubble wrap because I don't want to damage them. But here are the hobby boxes for 2009 Topps. and both for John Jones. And, well, these have those same cards, John Jones. Anderson Silva also has Chuck Liddell. People want to consider him in GOAT conversation, one of the first popular people in the sport. I believe it has Brock Lesnar. It may be in the 2010 Topps set. That's the next year. And this came out at a time when there's not many of these at all. This came out at a time when people really weren't buying cars because there was the 2008 financial crash, and buying a car, especially for UFC, which was barely 15 years old, wasn't on people's priority. So a lot of times these things sat on shelves and nobody really wanted them. People didn't find them valuable. Now people are buying them up. I believe they cost around $1,000 for the hobby boxes. Other ones you should be looking at 2010 Leaf National Pride. That's another set that's worth your time. I know it has John Jones and other autos that are good looking at. 2010 Topps. The other one is 2010 Main Event. 2011 Topps Finest. These are more kind of have the chrome feel to the cards. 2011, there's no relevant people I can really think of outside of Demetrius Johnson. They call him Mighty Mouse. Some people think he's the GOAT, but he's, you know, fights at 125, maybe 135. And people, he doesn't have that personality. He doesn't have the it factor like Conor McGregor would. So then you have 2012. This is the big set, which has Khabib Nurmagomedov. And this is Khabib's serial number first year card. So this is what to look for 2012. He's the second most popular person in the sport. He's really known for beating Conor McGregor, and the biggest pay-per-view in UFC history. And he's been dominant. He is 29-0. He has retired recently, but now he coaches, and he has a few guys who are really up-and-comers that can maybe champions and maybe all-time greats in themselves, and I'll get to them. So his card, other people, I think Stipe Miocic, he was the recent heavyweight champion that lost Francis Ganu. He may be considered the best heavyweight ever. His rookie year was, or his first year, I'll say rookie, but really they're not rookies per se, but just know that. 2013 is the big one. Is very hard to find that wax period, but it is Topps Bloodlines, which has Conor McGregor, also has Amanda Nunes. And here's the set that has the first year of both fighters, both legendary, one for popularity and one is fighting. And then this is Amanda Nunes, one of her first year cards, her auto. I think this is a good pickup. And this is Conor's rookie card, which are two. Conor McGregor is the most popular, the biggest draw by far. Very successful, maybe a cultural icon 10, 20 years from now. The top 5 cultural icons in pop culture. Amanda Nunes, maybe considered the greatest pound for pound fighter, but she's definitely the greatest women's fighter. She has 2 championships, I believe, bantamweight and featherweight, and she's been dominant for at least 4 years now. And it looks like nobody's in sight that can beat her. Other sets would be newer sets that end up coming out because you consider that the Topps Bloodlines and the Finest sets that came out. But 2016 is notable because that's Francis Ngannou's first cards, was just Topps Museum. Topps Museum are thicker cards, and a lot of UFC cards are going to be thicker, so it's actually harder to grade at PSA, so you might want to try BGS. I'm not sure how SGC really works, but you can try there as well. I mean, worst case, you just crack and maybe send to another grading company. The pop counts are super low. Even for cards like these, I believe this is a pop 20 at most. It's, you know, if there's 30 people who have the money for it, I mean, it'll drop up the prices really quickly. The other thing that needs to be looked at is other sets would be 2017 Topps Chrome, top first set. This is probably going to be more for flippers. And here is the hobby box for what most of you flippers are going to buy. Yeah, I'm just joking. Like, I think this is good for collectors as well. Unless it's like a serial number auto or something. There's a top set separately, but that's the Topps Chrome is going to have first year. This is going to get sports cards investors and collectors and stuff who are generally in basketball, football, baseball, stuff like that. Because Topps Chrome is a very famous and notable set. So you have Topps Chrome. Next, you're going to have 2018 Topps Chrome and 19, which is like the main sets, and then the museum sets are like the second biggest sets, and the museum are kind of considered the higher end. For 2018 museum, which I actually have here, 2018 museum has Israel Ilesanya's first card. I do have one of his cards that's off for grading, so I don't have it with me for his museum card. It was 2019 museum. But this is going to be first Israel Ilesanya's first cards. It could be Nurmagomedov. This is what he looks like. These two, I don't think they're going to make much of a draw because she's not in UFC anymore. And Max Holloway is really good, but I don't think he's really worth investing in. And then Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is one of the greatest fighters ever. Now he's an announcer, so if you watch any fights, you will see him. And then another person that is worth watching is Israel Adesanya. This is from his 2019. So his first Chrome cards. This is his refractor. It's kind of hard to see here, but this is more of an insert. His actual cards are actually horizontal cards. The actual rookie cards or first year cards are horizontal. And this is from his 2019 Topps Chrome set. Other people, I mean, Dustin Poirier is 2013 Bloodlines, and I believe Kamaru Usman is 2017. And you'll find him in the museum, and you find his Topps Chrome in 2018 Topps Chrome. Other people is Islam Makhachev. That's another person. Other things to keep in mind is, well, here's a 2017 Topps Chrome. This is Conor McGregor. It's going to be hard to see, but it's out of 75. So serial number, there's only 75 of these that exist. And then I have his Topps, and this is his 2017 autograph for Conor McGregor. So it's the Fire Blue Flame autograph. It's very, very hard to find. And the serial number is out of 10. So that is another one that I have. And then Valentina Shivchenko. She is the champion in the flyweight division for women. She's been very dominant. The only person she can't beat is Amanda Nunes. She may go down as the second greatest ever. And it's an auto, and I believe this is part of either her shorts or her like a bra. The other thing is you have those sets, but then recently, really there wasn't a 2020 product, so if you're looking for 2020, you're probably not going to find it. And this is what the product looks like. That's the hobby box, and then this is kind of like some of the card designs. Obviously, that's a special one with auto. And then there's Kamaru Usman, one of his cards from Prism with an auto as well. But also, you're going to have this 2020 Prism. And then you can see it has the rookie card logo on here. I like this one because you have that. It gets a lot of people who are in the sports cars into it. And also, this is the 2021 Prism, Panini Prism card. Is the first set released. They sold out. Still is low pop. It has certain things people look for. It's like Color Blast is a really popular insert. And it looks like it's a pretty good product. One of the issues is centering, so trying to center and grading may be difficult. You might want to just buy already graded slabs. The other thing that I think is really worth putting money into is really that set. It may be less of a flip. One of the positive thing about this is Panini Prism is sold licensing for basketball and NFL, NBA and NFL. and also is very popular for soccer. So those people go into soccer, driving up the prices. So if you're looking for investment, those would be great. Collection, I would say the earliest sets, and really just look for your favorite player. Players that actually are worth, you know, people end up liking are generally fighters who stand up and fight. They don't really like the wrestler type of people. They like people to see people get knocked out, head kicks, and going back and forth. That's why Conor McGregor, part of his Conor McGregor is popular, also because of his trash talking. The other things would be, that's why John Jones is popular. That's why Israel Adesanya, because he has a kickboxing background. So you need to look for people who have certain kind of backgrounds in kickboxing. And really to find out about this stuff is actually watch the fights, or you can listen to Joe Rogan's podcast or one of these MMA podcasts. And they go through a lot of this stuff. And it also is a bit helpful if you actually have done martial arts as well. But the other thing is really the personality. A lot of guys like people who trash talk, but also there's certain people that people aren't gonna like. And these individuals are just different from a lot of other athletes. So certain things that people do that, you know, aren't considered liked in other sports, if they do it in MMA, they may actually be liked. So the whole mindset may be different. The other thing to really look at is you have to understand what fights come up. So, because some of the best fighters, they don't fight very often, maybe 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a year. So when you buy, it's harder to flip because it's not like, oh, he had a big match. At most, some guys in the UFC fight every 5 weeks. But some of the best guys like the John Jones or whatever may fight only once a year, twice or 3 times a year at the most. I think Conor McGregor said he wants to fight 3 times this year. I believe he fought once this year. So he's going to fight a second time, and then he's going to fight a third time. So there's going to be major spaces out. So when buying, and if you're trying to flip, I would say buy a couple months before the fight, and then sell probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the fight. Or, you know, we don't bet on it or anything like that. But really figure out what fights are going on. So one of the fights that's going to be happening on June 12th is Israel Adesanya versus Marvin, I believe it's Vettori. The favorite is Israel Adesanya. He's defending his middleweight belt. Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou is going to be a big fight in July. And then the winner of that is probably going to fight John Jones, which may be the biggest fight in UFC history, and maybe the highest grossing fight. So look for when the fights are. The next one is UFC 263 and then 264. They're prelims and things like that, but really the numbered fights are the ones you want to look for. The major up-and-comers or young people is really Islam Makhachev. Everybody else, I mean, is variable, and people lose. So don't get too down if they lose or they lose in dramatic fashion. Other things to really look at is there aren't official rookies, but the only ones that have rookie logos is a 2021 Prism, 2020-21 Prism. And there's some people like Michael Chandler who are interesting. He did lose to Charles Oliveira very recently, but he may be worth it. Other people, who's the GOAT is very hard to say. Most people lean to John Jones, but he's not very liked. And he's still fighting. He's still adding to his legacy. Other people, I think, is George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, and these are guys in 2009 set. Amanda Nunes is the GOAT for women, is hands down. People like Ronda Rousey, not in the sport. People really don't care about her. They actually make fun of her. But I think people don't know. They just buy her cards. I don't think it's worth that much. Most exciting fighter, I believe, is Wonder Boy. I don't remember his name. I haven't really watched his fights. And then probably Israel Adesanya. Kamaru Usman is really good, but I don't think people like him like that. So here's some pros for the sport. The sport is the fastest growing sport in the entire world. Internationally, fastest growing sport internationally, and it's very hard to find any sport that's better. that's growing faster internationally. It's really big international. Like I said, most of the champions from other countries all over the world, so it's easier for other people to get into it. The pop count is extremely low. It's not that much graded stuff. A lot of it will be at PSA or SGC or CSG or HGA, but the pop counts on all this stuff is extremely low. So you shouldn't really worry about, oh, I'm buying this other person, buying this person. If their demand gets on any of these people, it's going to explode, and prices can really increase. But also, I think they're putting more effort to making the cards more enjoyable for collectors. So it's something that you can doably like complete your collection and hopefully not be too much of an issue. The other thing is, I mean, Conor McGregor is the biggest draw and the biggest celebrity in the sport, and he's going to be fighting, I believe, in July. So that's a positive. Whenever Conor fights, a lot of not serious viewers of the sport get into it. The other thing is that, I mean, people like Conor McGregor, well, people like Gary Vee has talked about it, and even the Sports Card Investor has also talked about it as well. And I also believe that there's some negatives going on as well. Because it's low pop, you know, you just need a handful of people who are in sports card invest, like basketball. They sell that stuff and put some of the money in here, and it's going to make prices go insane, and stuff is going to go insane. So that's an issue, and that's going to be a serious challenge. The second thing I think is going to be a serious challenge is I would definitely say it's most of the sport still bets on Conor McGregor, and they don't know who's going to be the next face. I think people think it's going to be Israel Adesanya, but he did lose in the light heavyweight championship bout. So who knows? Kamaru Usman, he's not going to be that guy. I think the truth is Francis Ganu. Backstory about Francis Ganu, he is, I believe, from the Congo. He worked in coal mines in the Congo. He tried to escape. They captured him, I believe, 3 to 5 times, and they left him in the desert to die. Somehow he found his way back to the village and then tried to plan his escape, and they caught him again. He went through about 3 to 5 times. And he was left in the Sahara Desert in a cage, and he had to figure to get his way out and go through the desert without food or water, and not just in the daytime, but also at night. So, and then he went to Europe, didn't know any kind of martial arts or any kind of fighting styles, learned how to do it, and then started UFC and really built and became the heavyweight champion. I mean, his story is insane, and he could become the biggest fighter, athlete, celebrity in the entire world. That's really the maximum peak of his celebrity. But these are some of the main things to look at. As far as inserts, the biggest one is the Color Blast for 2020 Prism. I don't know of any other big inserts outside of 2013 for Conor McGregor. It's really just because, not because people like it, it's just not that much. So people are just going after that. There are going to be more products that are going to be coming out in the future, but anything you buy right now is going to be, just stick to like the first few years just for the fighter, and don't get too hyped up if they win or lose a fight. Really, you have to look at the long picture of the fighter and their experience. And yeah, if you have any other suggestions of what I should talk about, then yeah, message me.